Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube and Yunus Ben Sion. Today's daf is the Nedarim daf Pei Daled. The Gemara on the bottom of Pei Daled and Aleph notes that the Mishnah says that if a woman takes a neder, she's not going to benefit from the brios, from anybody, from any creature, men, animals, women, and any living creature is not going to benefit from them. She can't benefit from them with most things, but hefker, like a shechah things which are matnos haniyim, she could benefit. However, the Mishnah conspicuously leaves out one matnos haniyah, meiser ani, which is taken the first, second, fourth, and fifth year of Shemitah. It's also hefker, it's also tzedakah for the aniyim. So why can't she benefit from that? The Mishnah says she can't, and furthermore, our Brisa says that she could. So the Gemara says we have a resolution. Rav Yosef says we have a resolution. The Brisa follows Rav Elazar's opinion. And the Mishnah follows the Rabbanan's opinion. What's their where do we find machlokes unless they're in the Rabbanan? And they argue in Mesachas Demai about Meiser Ani of Demai, right? You have an Am Aretz, he harvests his field. And we're not sure if he took off Shumas and Meiser or not. The Gemara says the whole Masechta about it, Demai. We don't know if Shumas and Meiser are taken off or not. It's a suffix. So, since it's a suffix, so therefore, since it's a suffix, so therefore, do you have to be Korah Shem or not? That's the machlok. Because I have to designate this is Meiser Ani or not designate Meiser Ani, right? The reason that the Chum say you have to designate Meiser Ani is because they hold Sveiko Tovel. It's a suffix whether it was taken off or not. Therefore, to remove yourself from this doubt, you have to designate something as Meiser Ani. Once you designate it, you don't have to be mafresh. You don't have to give it to an ani because hamotzi mechaver alav arayah. Once I designate it, I remove the pile from tevel because I designated Meiser Ani. If I don't designate it, right, so it's a suffix the Raisa l'chumra whether Meiser Ani is still here or not. So Rav Elazar says you don't have to, and the Gemara says Rav Elazar holds sveik oina tovel. Suffix on Meiser Ani is not tovel. Doesn't make it tevel. You don't have to be koresh. You don't have to designate Meiser Ani. Now it's hard to understand the opinion of Rav Elazar. Rav Elazar says you don't have to be koresh because sveika ona tovel. The Gemara says because Rav holds sveika ona tovel, so therefore you don't have a monetary claim to it, and therefore that's the Brisa says she could benefit from Meiser Ani. The Rabbanan say no, you can't benefit from Meiser Ani because sveika tovel and there's tuvas hana, right? I control it financially. I can decide which ani to give it to. So she is benefiting financially from the pile of grain. And then the Gemara says no. T'chuli alma sveika tovel. Everyone agrees that a suffix is tovel. And they argue about something else. According to Abaye, they argue about whether Amei Aretz were an extra on taking off Meiser Ani or not. Other says we assume they took off Meiser Ani because he can just easily relinquish his make his property hefker and become an Ani and take it. And Ramban say he's not going to do that. But something changed from the Havamina to the Maskana. The Havamina is a machlokes. Sveika tovel, sveika eno tovel. There's an opinion according to Rav Elazar, sveika eno tovel, right? Which is hard to understand because the suffix d'oraisa l'chumra, suffix d'oraisa, whether Meiser Ani was taken off, is a suffix d'oraisa, and tevel is an issue d'oraisa. So how could you say sveiko ena tovel? What's machlokas? Sveiko tovel, sveiko ena tovel. The Gemara says no, sveiko, which makes sense. Sveiko is tovel. What did the Gemara assume? Sveiko ena tovel. So when it comes to all shumas and ma'asos, there's two parts to shumas and ma'asos. All the manos aniyim that you give, matanos that you give from your pile of grain, right? Truma you give to the Kohen, Meiser Rishon you give to the Levi, Meiser Sheni to Yerushalayim, Meiser Ani you give to the poor people. They make the pile tevel until you take off these different gifts that you have to give different people. So we said by Truma, if you listen to my Shurma Masechtas Trumos, and I think by Meiser Rishon we talked about this all by Maestros, is that there's two parts you're taking off, right? You're relinquishing the pile from a status of tevel by taking it off, by Korah Shem. And then there's the Nesina, right? You give it to the Kohen. There's a mitzvah to give it. There's two mitzvahs, right? According to the Rambam and Ravid, there's two different mitzvahs, machlokas, whether it's two mitzvahs or not. But seemingly, there's two parts to the mitzvah, even if it's one mitzvah. But there's two parts. There's the monetary part and the Isser part, right? When you're Korah Shem, right, that's all you have to do. You remove the Isser part, right? You call the Meiser Ani. Then there's the monetary part of giving it to the Kohen, right? If it's Vadai Trum, you have to give it to a Kohen. Right? You can't keep it for yourself. Suffix, then you can keep it for yourself. But you still have to be Korah Shem to remove the Isser over here. So it comes out in the Havamina, according to Rav Elazar, Sveika ena tovel, right? The whole idea of Meiser Ani, according at this point in the Gemara, Meiser Ani, is that there's no mitzvah to give it. It's all a din of mamonis. It's a din of mamonis. There's not the tevel. What makes Meiser Ani tevel is not similar to Truma and Meiser Rishon and Meiser Sheni. Those things, right? What makes the pile tevel is that you have to, the Isser of a Heta, that you have to separate it from it. And then there's a separate din you have to give the mammon to whoever it belongs to. But by Meiser Ani, which is really tzedakah, that's really what it is. There's only din mamonis over here. It's just the whole din is about giving it, right, to a poor person. And if you're not sure, well, you have to give it to a poor person. So therefore, Motzi Mechaver tells me I don't have to give it to a poor person. In which case, there's no tevel over here, because the entire din of Meiser Ani is a din of tzedakah. And tzedakah is entirely a monetary obligation. That's all it is. It's not, right, like we say the mitzvah of tzedakah, right, is that really called Isser v'heter? It's not called Dinei Mamonis, right? When you have a suffix, you give tzedakah, or you have to give tzedakah. Is that really called Dinei Mamonis? Or is it also Isser v'heter, right? They have the same kind of, discussions by Geneva and Gezela, things like that. And the mitzvah, Heishiv Gzela, is it a din just in Dinei Mamonis? Purely Dinei Mamonis, have to give it back? Or the Isser v'heter over here? Seemingly there's a mitzvah, Isser v'heter, but it's really controlled by Dinei Mamonis. So at this point in the Gemara assumes there's not two different ideas over here by Meiser Ani. It's one idea. It's mammon. It's money. All right. So therefore, the way you adjudicate the case is basically saying Savik mammon lekula over here, Motzi Mechaver Araya, and therefore you don't have to be Korashem according to Elazar, and therefore there's no Tuvos Hana, right? It's strictly a monetary din over a monetary din, and it's suffix, so therefore you don't have to give it. And the Gemara relents, and the Gemara says now everyone agrees that even Meiser Ani is like a regular Truma Gedola and things like that. That there's two parts to it. There's the actual Isser v'heter, and then there's the Nesina to the Ani. So it's really two parts. It's not like a regular case of tzedakah. Tzedakah is really pure Dinei Mamonis, right? I decide to take money out of my pocket and give it to an Ani. That's Dinei Mamonis. Most of Raya. Do I have to give tzedakah or not? When someone called me up for an aliyah and I pledged money for an aliyah, I'm not sure if I won the aliyah or not won the aliyah. Right, or I had in mind to give, not in mind to give. So that's a suffix in Dinei Mamonis. It's no Isser v'heter over here. However, when it comes to tevel, because of tevel, precludes me from partaking from the pile of grain until I get with the maestros, and Meiser Ani is one of those things. So therefore, a din is two dinim. It's first Kriya Shem. First is that you have to, designate it, remove it from tevel, Isser v'heter, and then there's a secondary din of giving it to the Aniyim. So there's really two different din. And really, Ravo gives a different answer to resolve the mission of the Brisa. Really shows this very clearly, that when it comes to taking off Meiser Ani in your house, right, there's a mitzvah of Nesina to a specific Ani. And when it's in the Beis HaGranos, right, so then it's like Dinei Mamonis. So again, you see from even Ravo, who's the second answer of the Gemara, we hold possibly like both answers. There's two ways of resolving the mission of the Brisa. That at least when you're in your house, you didn't take Shumas Ma'aser until you get to your house. There's a mitzvah of Nesina, of giving it to a specific Ani, which is a mitzvah, and it's more than just a Dinei Mamonis, let's say in the Beis HaGranos, where it's Hefker. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you on the next one.